Hi everybody, welcome to 5 Minute Ministries. Now there's a question that's been around forever, probably since the beginning of time, and it's going to go on forever. And even though it's been answered several times over and over again, people are still going to ask the question. And the question being, if God is so good and God is so loving, why is there suffering? Well, the reason there is suffering is because there is sin in this world, and it began way back in the garden. Adam was charged with being able to eat from every tree in the garden except the tree of knowledge of good and evil. He was not to eat from that fruit because the day he did, he would die. Now he was given that instruction, and then Eve was made. And then Adam passed that information on to Eve. Now Adam said, we are not to eat from that tree. And he probably tacked on, this is where Eve got the idea that you're not even supposed to touch it. He probably said, don't even go near, don't even touch it. You're just better off leaving it alone completely. Now we say that to our kids. We don't want them to do something. He said, don't even go near that. Let's avoid it altogether and it'll make things simpler. Well, unfortunately, Adam and Eve disobeyed, and suffering came out of it. There was a curse put on the world because of man's disobedience. It's not because God chose to curse us, it's because consequences come when we disobey. And that's one of the reasons we suffer. We disobey God. When you disobey your parents, you suffer. You suffer the consequences of what you did wrong. When you do wrong in your job, you suffer then. Ultimately, you could get fired, and that comes with suffering too. You'll have financial suffering. And then there's all kinds of other reasons we suffer. But that does not mean God loves us any less, and it does not mean He's any less good. He is still God. He is still loving and caring and compassionate. Well, then why is there suffering? There's suffering, first of all, because there's sin. Second, because we choose to suffer. Anytime we do the wrong thing, we're going to suffer. Now, it seems like some people get away with it, but when it comes down to it, even if they get away from it in this life, they'll still have to stand before God and answer for it. So there are who will suffer one of these days. And it seems unfair and unjust. We want justice now. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen, does it? In our world, in the world of human beings, some people do get away with it, or at least they seem to. Even David in the Psalms, King David says, why do the wicked triumph? And it's a legitimate question. And also, why do the good suffer? Why do the bad get rewarded? Things just don't seem fair. We want everything to be fair and even, and we want everybody to be happy. Unfortunately, that's not the way things work. We are sinful, selfish people, and we don't see the benefits of suffering. What possible benefits could come from suffering? There are some, but we don't look at it at the time. We are only focused on the suffering. Now, why do we suffer? We suffer because of our own choices. We suffer because it's a consequence of what we do. We suffer because we can have the ability to choose to make others suffer. And yeah, people choose to make us suffer too. Suffering is a fact of life, and it's always going to be there until Jesus returns and makes a new heaven and earth. Suffering is going to exist. Now, I may take some time and explore some of these a little deeper as the next few weeks go on. But suffering, it's a part of life, and there's no escaping it. But that doesn't make God any less good. It doesn't make Him any less loving. He has a plan to use our suffering for our benefit and for His glory. We don't always see how. We don't always know how, and sometimes we don't see it in this life. But if we are truly saved, if we are followers of Him, when the day comes that we as believers stand before Him, we will see that big picture that only He can see right now. So hopefully I can give you some hope in the next few weeks to come over this topic And I hope you tune in and find out what I have to say, or hopefully what God has to say through me. Anyway, this has been 5 Minute Ministries, and I'll see you next time.